Welcome to the Homeschool Together podcast. Where one working mom and a stay-at-home dad help you navigate the nuts and bolts of the growing and dynamic world of homeschooling.
With a focus on early learners, like me.
All the ins and outs of building and maintaining your homeschool life.
Homeschool.
Find out tips and tricks to make things like this easier.
I'm reading.
And ultimately, enjoy educating your kids. And what's that last thing?
Have fun together. Did I do good, Daddy?
Yeah, you did, sweetie. Good job. Hello and welcome back to Homeschool Together. Thanks so much for joining us. If you have a chance, head down into the show notes. And if you'd like to support the podcast, we have a link to our Gumroad store where we have a number of cool documents if you're heading around the world and you look for some resources, or if you just want to say, hey, thank you. And we got some game breaks there as well. And all the links that we tend to talk about goes through our Amazon affiliates. So if, when you hit the click and you hit the buy, it puts a few, couple pennies into our pocket. So we appreciate that very much.
Support the show. Thank you.
Absolutely. So today is our beginning of the year because it's we're recording this in early January.
I love this episode. As I said, we do it every year. This is the what is the Booster family going to do this year?
Yeah. Well, what are these wacky people doing? So this is so last year we talked a little bit about that our youngest, if you've been following our journey from the beginning, has gone from a glowworm all the way to a very precocious, very insistent, demanding that she is involved in everything that we do. 3-year-old, just about 3.5-year-old now. And so this is one of the first years that, we kind of started doing some homeschool with her at the end of last year. But this is the first year where we are starting to have to begin to plan, going forward through this calendar year, that she will be involved. And so we have a whole plan for her. And also we have our older one, which is she will be finishing up, quote unquote, her first grade year and moving into her second grade year at the end of this year. But her academics are a little skewed, especially in her math. I think.
Yeah, we'll kind of get to it. She's 7, so she's a little bit on the older edge for a first grader because of her birthday. But I think it's important to kind of set the framework for those of you that are new. We welcome all the new listeners.
Yes, thank you.
Yes, thanks for joining us. So,
and especially all those people who are on Reddit who might saw my post and joined. Hello.
So I think it's important to baseline this a little bit in that the school year runs late August, early September to May, June, whatever, the normal school year run, and we don't really plan our year that way. We plan it by calendar year. For me, I feel like I have a really hard time working my brain across years with a school year, and I really like to think in calendar year terms because we get started with this good momentum in January and we carries us through. We have a little bit of a lull in the summer where we do continue to work, but we don't have our other stuff going on, and then we get to the end of the year and there's a ramp down for the last few weeks of the year. I feel like it dovetails really nicely, and I just don't like planning that way. So that's why we like to talk about this now as opposed to the start of the school year.
It's kind of hard because we also straddle two things, and we'll get into, if you've been following us, that we have a parent partnership that we're involved in. We'll talk a little bit more about that towards the end. But we kind of straddle two camps. We're like homeschoolers that homeschool all year round, and all the challenges and the advantages of doing that. But also we are stuck in the normal school year because
all of our enrichment
because our parent partnership is a public school. And so we have this weird, we are on their schedule, but also we don't really care about their schedule because we've got our
homeschool year round.
Because we homeschool all year round. And it's, it's such a wild, we should maybe do an update maybe at the end of this year and talk about, our second year at our parent partnership.
Yeah, the second year, our parent partnership has definitely been quite a bit different than our first.
Because we were still, quote unquote, in the pandemic.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Now we're the experience at the school is fully out of the pandemic. No masks, no social distancing. We're basically back to normal.
Things have changed quite a bit there. Yeah, it is a different experience. And our daughter being older too, not being a kindergartner.
And they took my table away, Ariel. I asked for one thing.
You had a private one-chair table.
I had a one-chair table, and they took it away.
in the gathering room.
They put a cabinet there.
I'm like, no, that was your own private space.
It was my own private space. But anyway, that being said, so hey, let's get into it. Our young one. So she's 3.5, going to be 4 this year.
Right. Should be four in the summer.
Sharp as a tack. Love her to death.
Very sharp.
Very sharp.
She's a little whirlwind. She's a little tornado.
It's one of those things where we kind of have to start to realize we can't talk about everything. And we used to do the spelling stuff to keep our
that doesn't work anymore.
Yeah, the older one from knowing what we're talking about. It's like,
you got to start spelling really complicated words.
It's like, hey, we got to put the little one to BED, and our oldest one's like, you got to put her to bed. I'm like,
she always translates. I don't really care if she knows. I just don't want her to say it. Just don't say it out loud, child.
So we can't spell words anymore. And then the little one is now really starting to hear everything.
She's sentient.
Yeah,
we can't talk about things in front of her.
Exactly. So let's talk a little bit about what we've done with her. So we're closing in on the end of the Blossom and Root Volume 1.
Yep, early years. So that's the preschool curriculum. So that's supposed to be kind of, ages 2-3, and it's been good. We'll give a review of it. We'll have a review episode come up.
I think a long time ago, maybe I'll grab we did the review of Volume 2 because our oldest did that when she was just coming out of preschool, right before she started sort of major curriculums.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, when we finish, so I mean, I guess, spoiler alert. So we're going to go to Volume 2 with our little one. When we finish that, we should probably do an update episode because we're actually going to be doing the updated version of Volume 2. We did the older version with our older daughter. So there's been an update since, so maybe we'll do a short episode on that to tell you how that goes. But yeah, so we're going to be moving to early years Volume 2 with her. And really the difference between Volume 1 and Volume 2, it's time. It's a little bit of intensity. Yeah. There's some cool kind of engineering type things, which like you would build something out of Duplos, for example, and you give your child the same Duplos that you built out, and they have to copy it. Or floating things in water. There's just some like kind of proto-STEM stuff.
Counting stuff. Yeah, there's a little bit more. It's just a little bit more, and
right.
I think we're excited to move on to that because I think that's kind of where she is. Right
yeah,
now.
So it's a little bit more intensive on the letters. So there's going to be a letter every week, and every day of the week there's different letter exercises that are done to help kind of reinforce that. There's still kitchen classroom. There's still reading. There's still art. Yep. There's music. We really enjoyed Volume 2 with our older daughter, so I think it's going to be good for her. Yeah. Our goal would be to finish that by the end of this year.
Absolutely.
The one thing we may have to change might be some of the music. She's not as cool with classical music as our older daughter was, so we might have to add in like more movie soundtracks or something.
70s and 80s and 90s music. We can definitely do
I don't know. We're going to have to do something different for music appreciation because our older daughter was very happy to listen to whatever you turned on, and our younger one's pretty opinionated about it. So
she likes what she likes. That's the thing.
Right.
And then and the reason why we're thinking about that is because, as we said a little bit earlier, that our older one was a little bit on the older side of the age range.
Yeah.
Our younger one is going to be on the early side, and we're staring down the barrel that, she's going to start quote unquote kindergarten.
Right.
In a year and a half.
Yeah, fall of 2024. She would be a kindergartner.
And so not only do we have to wrap our head around preparing her for that, all the various things that, they tend to have to learn by then. And it would be nice to have her. And I've noticed that her learning style, and this is the great thing that when you have two kids and you're homeschooling, you see how soon their different learning styles appear. Like, what would have taken me weeks to teach my one daughter who doesn't like to memorize things and needs to be exposed to things over and over again. My young one would be like, you show her once and she's like, yeah, all right, I got it. And I had,
but the younger one can't sit still long enough to do some of the other stuff that the older one totally got. So they're very different.
They're very different. I'm having to come to grips with, what does that mean going forward? How do I teach them together? How do I teach them separately?
Well, and the younger one is changing, quite frankly. Right. Our older daughter is, essentially the same kid that she was at 5. She still is at 7.
Yeah. It's just a little bit more patience, a little bit more.
Yeah. I mean, definitely
way more patient.
Definitely matured, but the same basic kid. And I think that there's so much change happening between now at 3.5 and 5 for our younger daughter.
She's getting out of that kind of, preschooler crazy. And she's now kind of like a young kid.
She's really changing a lot right now. I think this next year is going to be a huge thing for her. We're really going to see like where her. So I'm curious to see where her learning style settles out. Yeah. Because those young kids are really kinesthetic learners, but then as they get older, things really change. So that'll be interesting to see with her. Yeah. The other thing that will be, we talked about her like going into kindergarten next year, and of course we're not, putting her into formal kindergarten, but she will go to our parent partnership. But we're homeschoolers. We don't have to run on the, hey, she turned 5 over the summer, so that means that she's going to be a kindergarten age kid. We don't have to do that, and don't feel like you need to do that with your kids. For us, we really feel like it's a good starting point for us to like kind of benchmark. Now, if something that we're doing, she's not ready for it or whatever, then peace, that's fine. We will go ahead and we'll wait on it because she's not right there yet. But we have to have kind of something to go on. Yeah. And so that's where we start. And that's the things we try to teach. And if then we run into something in that, in that set for whatever grade level it is, where, our daughter now is in first grade, we're trying to make sure, and you just pulled the standards the other day for first grade. We're trying to make sure that, we're covering all of these areas. And, if we run into a snag somewhere, okay, we'll back off or we'll try to do something else. We don't have to keep it at grade level, but it's a really nice place to start. Because I feel like sometimes when you start homeschooling, if I don't have to take an assessment every year, and she doesn't, we have to take an assessment every year starting in 3rd grade, but we don't, there's no penalty if she doesn't do great on the assessment, right? So there's not like, nobody's holding you to the grade level thing. So you kind of feel like, I'm just here in the ether. Do I just teach my kid whatever I want to teach him? Or we kind of like using the standards as guidelines.
Yeah. Well, and a lot of times with those standards, what I saw on the wall, you see how it's broken out, and they have these, this feels like something that, the terms that they use, and the skills that they are describing are not things that, it's not the way you would normally describe it, right? And you go, well, how would they teach that?
Like, what does this mean in English?
Yeah, like oh, we're doing this and that, and you're like, okay, I see where Right Start Math is accomplishing that, or I see where All About Reading is accomplishing, this skill and that skill, and you go, oh, okay, so they've woven it into a curriculum that makes sense to the average person,
right? And
that abstracts up to these difficult concepts, because they're breaking out in like very fine granularity all these different reading concepts and comprehension concepts and grammar concepts, and they're very minute. And you don't say, well, we don't have a page in this book that corresponds to exactly that thing, but that's not how it works. That those are woven together as multiple, there's multiple disciplines and multiple skills you're teaching when you're doing, say, an early reader, or you're doing a lesson, or you're doing this math lesson, or you're reading these types of books. You obviously get those things when you do those typical educationally, discussion oriented type of lessons. And I don't want people to go and look at the standards and go, oh my God, I need to make sure that I'm teaching ordinal numbers and blah, blah, blah in this way.
Or I need to choose a curriculum that says it's Common Core aligned. Right? None of the ones that we have are Common Core aligned, but they still teach the same stuff.
They still do.
All right. Maybe they're not teaching it exactly in the same order that they would in Common Core, but we're still accomplishing what we need to.
And that's the other thing too, is that I really like about how we, incorporate our morning basket, incorporating other, curriculums as kind of reviews. I feel like if we do multiple curriculums and we do multiple books and we do multiple things, you're going to get everything.
Sure,
right?
You're coming at it from different perspectives.
The hope is that you just throw enough there and you'll get it all, right?
Well, right. And one of my things about it is, Common Core, we're not going to send our kids into public school next year, right? So we're not trying to make sure that they've done absolutely everything they would normally do. If there's some stuff that they would do, let's say Right Start, let's say like math in first grade, in public school, they would cover all these 100 topics, and Right Start covers a different set of 100. But maybe in the following year, Right Start's going to catch up and get those, and then the public school will get the ones Right Start did in first grade.
Exactly,
they might be like a little flip-flopped and mishmashed, but we don't really care because they're not going back to public school anyway.
Yeah.
So, and I think if you are going to put your kid back in, then you'll want to get a Common Core aligned curriculum,
correct.
Or just
make sure you're staying
or just check
level.
the standards and make sure that you're keeping up with it.
And the reason why we say this is because when we're thinking about our 3.5-year-old going into kindergarten, there are a lot of requirements that you need them to do, like, writing their names, knowing their numbers, knowing their basic letters. And one of the things that we have been doing is we do a multiple day a week preschool. We've been doing that. And what's really, really great about that is, those preschools and that, kind of pre-kindergarten classes are, I think 99% of the kids in that class are going off to a public school.
Yeah, most of them are.
Except our kid.
Right.
So we're getting what they're doing to prepare those children to go into kindergarten.
Right. And so right now she's in like the regular preschool year.
Yeah.
Next year, or at the same preschool, she'll actually be in the pre-K class.
pre-K
And that's
class.
all that kindergarten readiness stuff. So
Yep.
yeah, so so we've got this at home where we're really relying on this really great Blossom and Root
Yep.
preschool curriculum. And then she's got a couple of days a week at preschool.
Mm-hmm.
They're just half days. And we feel like this is really important. It's important for her to get some social time without us. It's important for her
Play
to
with other kids.
play with
like
her
that,
kids,
yeah.
learn from other adults that aren't us. It's good for her to get that experience. And, frankly, I think preschool teachers are amazing people. And, keeping the activities like going all day, it's really great to take her someplace where they have a big plan and they do lots of art and they, they sing the songs and they do all the things. It also really helps us to be able to work with our older daughter in times when it's quiet and take her to school and stuff. So, we've used it a little bit as childcare and a lot as, just a really enriching experience for our younger daughter.
And we did the same thing with our older, and there was a Montessori that we sent her to.
It's closed now.
Yeah, and we saw a lot of benefits there, and we said, okay,
yeah,
this
there
is
was a
something
lot of growth, and she felt a lot more comfortable. I remember when our younger daughter first started going to preschool. She was actually 2 when she started, but she was ready. She needed that social time with other kids, but she was a little bit shy at first. Man, she came out of her shell so much by being at that preschool.
And then she spent so much time with me because of the way the schedule fell and the way we thought we wanted to do our schedule. She came with me to the parent partnership a lot,
right?
And she loved being there. And, the great thing about our parent partnership is that, when I'm in the classes or if I have to be in a class or I'm on campus because I have to be, my daughter's there with me and she's seeing the school and she's like, I cannot wait to be here. And
right. And I
this
think
thing.
that this works whether you have a parent partnership or you have a co-op or you plan to do a bunch of enrichment classes. We've really felt that having our daughters do even a couple of days a week of preschool really helped them to feel confident and ready, because it's like the moment that you start kinder or even first grade, all of the enrichment class opportunities and clubs and sports and groups and everything starts opening up, and we felt like it gave them a good foundation to be kind of confident in social situations with their peers. So, so that's why we decided on
at our
preschool.
parent partnership, they do encourage parents to be in the classroom with the students,
There's lots of
and
parents.
I'm cool with doing that for the most part, but I really want my daughter to, when she's in these classes, to be like, okay, you need to be in this class. You need to be a respectful person. You need to be able to handle yourself. You need to be able to listen to another person, for whatever reason, whether they're a teacher or you're at some music class or you're at gymnastics or you're at a sport or you have a part-time job in the summer when you're 15, you need to be able to listen to people and you need to be able to respect people. And so I don't like to be that crutch in the back of the room all the time.
Yeah.
And so I'll go like the first couple classes, but after that, I'm like, you're a big kid. If, you're 6, you're 7, if you have an issue, I'm right across in the gathering room writing my latest book,
Yeah, you can come find me.
You can come find me. You're a big kid. You're a strong and capable young woman.
It's a good balance between independence, but with family tie. So
and you want to foster that independence, because I like being in the classrooms, watching them do the things, and
you help out a lot, especially in the painting class.
Yeah,
they need your help.
Yeah, and a lot of times they need help, and that's fine, and whatever, that it is what it is. But I like the fact that they are starting to generate that independence. I'll regret that when they're 17, but I do want to foster that.
I won't regret it. I think it's important.
It's a great skill.
I think so.
I think our youngest is getting that independence even earlier than our oldest was,
because
right?
she's getting this experience of being on campus with her sister's
and
school,
she's going to preschool, and she went to preschool earlier than our oldest.
She did, because they didn't start preschool that early at the Montessori. Yeah, I think it's really good, and I think that we're trying to strike the right balance. Obviously, home education is primary. If they closed our parent partnership tomorrow, heaven forbid, we would still continue to homeschool.
Yeah, we wouldn't be like a ball on a string and just float off into nothing. We would just keep spinning.
We would keep homeschooling, and then we would enroll in a whole bunch of different enrichment classes. We would have music lessons, and we'd have a dance class, and we'd have gymnastics, and we'd have an art class at the art center, and we'd do a bunch of things. So I think whether you have an experience like ours, that you're actually, we do go to a school part-time, or you just enroll in a bunch of classes, I think the principles are still the same. right? And I think that we like having that mix. So for our younger daughter, we've got this Blossom Room at home, we've got the preschool, and we always try to keep her in one enrichment activity. And this is outside of preschool, and this is something fun that she's interested in, whether it's a sport or performing arts, something like that.
Gymnastics.
Yeah, we only keep her in one thing at a time because it's too much for her to do multiple activities. She's only 3. And just something that's fun and gives her some different skill and something really...
She does so much tag-along stuff, especially with Girl Scouts.
It's nice to give her a chance to do something she really wants to do. Yeah. So we ask her, like, what is it you really want to do? And we're not afraid to drop stuff.
Like we did soccer. It just wasn't her thing.
It just she was really excited about it. We did it for a little while. It did not turn out to be the right thing.
She was mortally wounded and offended that in the game of soccer, people can take the ball from you.
Yeah.
When the first kid took the ball from her, she was like, that's it, I'm done. This sport's terrible.
She saw older sister play soccer and she was dying to play soccer. And then it ended up not being right. So for her, we're sampling. We're sampling enrichment classes. And because she's so young, we're only just really doing things that she just wants to do. And, she sees her older sister going to do enrichment things and she wants that opportunity too. Yeah. So even though like she's 3.5, we don't have to put her in anything. I mean, she doesn't need to be in anything.
She's been enjoying dance. That's been the big one.
Right. She was really excited to do dance because sister always likes dance and they dance at home. And so it was like, okay, great. This is something that she really is into and interested in. And she's like, I don't know. She feels so special having her own little class. Oh, I have my class. I get to go too. She loves it. So that's the little one. That's the 3 things. It's funny the 3 components of her education.
And it's funny how the big one, kind of laments the fact that she can't do those things with her, right?
Right.
She's starting to be like, oh man, I'm a big kid. I can't go and do preschool-y things.
Yeah. I can't go on the preschool pumpkin patch trip, and things like that. So
it sounds like fun. Anyway, so segmenting from
it's been very enriching for her and not, and she's still napping. So we have to, that's a big part of her day as well.
Oh, yes.
Big part of all of her day.
3.5. Well, because our oldest didn't give it up until she was 5. Cackles with glee.
We'll see how long this one lasts.
We'll see how it is. Yeah, everybody's like, oh, Matt just jinxed himself. So segueing from the younger one to the older one. So the older one, we have been doing the prehistory. If you follow us on our YouTube channel, seeing all the great videos we put out, we're going to be putting out a few more here in the coming weeks and months.
Yep.
As we finish up the combination of Build Your Library and the Blossom and Root prehistory.
Yep.
We've been enjoying that. We're getting to the end of dinosaurs, so we're starting to get past the asteroid and getting into early man and early mammals. It's really, really fun. We're excited about that.
It's been fun.
So our goal is to finish that here probably early spring timeframe. And then transition into the Build Your Library Ancient Civilizations.
Yeah, Build Your Library 1. We are not going to do a Build Your Library Torchlight combo. No. We are going to do a Build Your Library 1 plus, I'm going to call it, because we just can't not add books. I don't know why. We can't not add alternate resources.
And as normal, we will video our
thing.
Ariel, we have purchased the most rarest of all IKEA shelves. It was the last thing on our YouTube studio.
Yeah. Actually, I don't even know if people will see it in the video, but it's where all my curriculum is now stored. So I'm excited about that. It's the only shelves in the house that are tall enough for binders. Go figure.
We saw the shelf came back in stock and we were like, we dropped everything.
Yeah, you ran over Christmas break and got it. So, so we're excited about Ancient Civilizations. I think we're going to do it, mostly as written as far as the layout of it. I don't think we're going to change that, but we are going to add some other things into it. And we might spend a bit more time in Egypt than they had planned because our daughter is very, very into Egypt.
Well, and the little one this week has been pulling down a bunch of Egypt books.
Yeah, she wants to look at the mummies books.
I feel like I'm living in a deja vu time warp because I remember my 3.5-year-old loving, Egypt and mummies, and all of a sudden my 3.5-year-old now is pulling down these books again.
The new 3.5-year-old,
and I'm like, wait a minute, which one is which? It's wild.
Yeah, I think it's cool, and so
there must be some, I don't know, genetic predisposition to be just fascinated by these ancient cultures. It must be.
So we're looking to do that for the rest of the year. Yeah, that'll be the rest of the year. I don't know if we'll finish it this year, but I think we'll be close if we don't finish. We'll be close. So that's going to be our big kind of main curriculum at home for that. And then for math
and reading, yes.
Yeah. So we're in Right Start C.
We're about halfway through.
And she's a first grader. So that's a second grade math curriculum. We're going to be finished with it soon.
Sometime here in the early spring timeframe.
Yeah, and then we're doing Math Mammoth 2 at the same time, which is a second grade.
It's kind of a review. We're going really slow. I'm kind of treating it like a morning basket math because if you watch listen to I think one of our recent review podcasts where we talked about, I think a short bite we reviewed a workbook where I've been doing a morning workbook that does both grammar and early reading, and then I had math. We blazed through the math. So I finished the math and I said, well, now that the math sections are done, I need to do some morning basket math stuff.
Yeah,
so,
the math is really good. It gets your brain warmed up.
Yeah, so I pulled down the Math Mammoth books, and so we're starting to do like 1-2 pages a day, not much at all. And it's all review for her because we've already covered it in Right Start. So we're using Math Mammoth as kind of a morning basket review while I'm completing level C. And so
right. And so then we'll go to the Right Start D.
Right Start D after that.
And we will finish Right Start.
Once we finish Right Start C, we will then finish, because they're not going to end.
Right. Yeah, that's right.
We will then finish Math Mammoth 2. That will carry us into the summer. And then sometime in the summer, we're going to start Right Start D.
I would imagine we will finish Right Start D this calendar year.
At the speed she's doing math, I leaned back this week and I was like, just pulling out basic algebra stuff, and I was like, I just want to see if she like gets it. So I started having her. I taught her how to like balance an equation because she knows how to do math. Adding and subtracting. She knows how to do multiplication.
Yeah, very simple stuff.
And rudimentary division.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, let me just see if she can like start balancing equations and solving for X. And she just got it. And I'm like, okay. I'm like leaning back. I'm like, can I do calculus next? And I'm like,
she's really math minded. She's got your math mind, that's for sure.
No, I'm very excited about that.
So that's going to be really good. So that'll continue us through the year. Our next level of Right Start. So then she'll be in school terms. She'll be a second grader, but she'll be having just finished third grade math. So this is where we talked about her not really being on grade level anymore.
Yeah, I don't know how she could go back to public school. She'd have to take older math classes.
Yeah. But in reading, she is really on grade level, pretty much, maybe a little bit ahead. But
maybe just a tad, yeah.
She's mostly on, so we're in the middle of All About Reading level 2.
Yeah, I think we'll finish that by the summer, early spring.
Right. And then when we finish it, you're going to do maybe a month of like a break with a focus on reading, right?
Yes.
So tell everybody what you're thinking to do.
So I'm looking to do, so what we have heard people say is that at the end of the All About Reading 2, that a lot of people will find that their kids break through and begin to pick up books and read those, just being able to read almost any book, because at the end of that level 2, we've introduced all the, the weird phonemes, WH and PH and all the weird combinations that we have. And so they have those all in their tool belt. They know how to handle, silent E and double vowel combinations and how to read those. And, when do I use the long form? When do I use the short form? And then they've been introduced to, dozens and hundreds of sight words. And so at that point, they pretty much have all the tools to read, a vast majority of early reader books, and even starting to nibble at some very early, middle grade books. And people have said that this is where the kids will just pick up and run, right?
Well, and what I've heard is this is where the kids will pick up the initiative to want to read, which I think is really what we're really looking for at this point. Not the proficiency, but the initiative. And the initiative for our daughter is really tied to her feeling confident in her abilities. So this month that you're going to take after All About Reading 2 is really about building confidence and showing her how many really interesting stories she can read. So giving her that experience. And then we'll jump into All About Reading level 3.
Well, we're going to make a choice at the end of that month and a half.
Right. This is our decision point.
We have a decision point. Like, do I feel you are ready? Because one of the things when we finished All About Reading 1 and we just jumped right into All About Reading 2, she wasn't ready. And I didn't find that out until we were like 8 or 9 lessons in. That's when we had to pull back. And if you remember some of the podcasts earlier last year, early 2022, we talked a lot about some of the the issues around reading, some of the things that we were trying. We kind of pulled back. We did some more review.
You did Explode the Code, and we did Beyond the Code.
We did Beyond the Code. which were very helpful. And then we found some really wonderful reading fluency techniques, and we just put out a podcast a couple weeks ago about that. And those have been just, revolutionary for us.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to try to take all of these things that we've learned and all the things that I see that has been improving her reading ability. And in this month and a half, I'm going to sort of like not push her, but like I want to really test and show her. Like it's almost like I want to like reveal to her, like, look, you can do these amazing things.
It's a real confidence thing. Our daughter has a real issue with just trying something and not being afraid to fail. And then, a lot of times she'll discover, I can do it.
She has a perfectionist streak that runs
She does.
through her.
That's from me.
Yeah. And
totally from me.
And she will shut down and get really frustrated if she feels like she's not doing it.
Right. And so I think that this is helpful. And so at that point, we'll decide if we feel like she's ready for 3, we'll do that. If we don't, then we'll maybe do some more review and maybe use Beyond the Code. And
maybe even Explode the Code as like a morning basket type of thing through the summer.
And we may do Explode the Code in the morning either way, just because it's good review. And one of the things I really felt about doing the first level of Explode the Code with her after All About Reading level 1 was that it was pretty easy for her, and everything in reading comes kind of hard to her. So it was nice for her to have like an easy win. Every morning she could start out being like, I'm killing my reading. And I think that gave her confidence to do the harder reading later in the day.
It was also a great thing to do in the summer while we do homeschool all year round, we do kind of like gear it down a little bit in the summer, while we're doing our main curriculum, as we talked about, Build Your Library. But reading and math, I tend to just slow it down just a little bit, maybe miss a day or here or there.
But we're not in a parent partnership during the summer, so we have
way more time.
Yeah, you basically cover about the same amount.
I probably do.
It's probably the same speed. You think
I think it's geared down.
You think it is, but I don't think it is. I think you're covering basically the same amount of lessons that you would. It's just that now when you miss a couple lessons a week, you're missing them because we're busy doing something else.
Exactly.
Whereas then you're choosing, we're taking the day off, and so you feel. I think you feel that, but I think it's a perception.
Days are longer, time warp, all that funny stuff. So
love the summer.
Oh God, I love the summer, especially in the Northwest.
Yeah, it's great. So that'll be reading for her. So that's reading and math, and then to talk a little bit about our parent partnership. Not everybody has obviously the option for a parent partnership, but we really wanted to talk mostly about the types of classes because everyone has enrichment options somewhere. There's classes that you can sign your child up for different things, whether it's a sport or performing arts or whatever, music, whatever it is. So we wanted to talk about kind of the category. So
we have a philosophy around this, like the reason why we do
We do. We have some reasoning. So right now, for the rest of this school year, she's going to continue. She's in a performing arts class. Mm-hmm. She's in a hands-on handcraft skills class. She's in a practical, it's a cooking class. She's in a science class. And she is in PE and an art. Yeah.
And these are strategically picked because there are things that, while we can do those things here at the house, or we could pay to have her go do a gymnastics class or whatever, the school provides that. And so, we want to use that.
And some of these are things we used to pay for, and now we can do. So those are kind of the categories we have her in now. Now, for the next year, we don't know what our classes are going to be, but we're going to have to register for those towards the end of the school year. But what we're looking to do to kind of augment, we've got this big history component going on with Build Your Library 1. We got the math and the reading. We don't need help with that. Some of the things we're looking to supplement by adding a science. Mm-hmm. By adding a STEM, if we can, something on the engineering side would be nice. Yep. They've got lots of different kinds of, Lego things and robot things. And so we'll find something STEMmy. A performing art.
Yeah, the big one's the performing arts, and then also...
And hands-on art. I really love her having hands-on art. Something handcraft, whether it's woodworking or it's
sewing
or if there's friendship crafts. There's a bunch of different types of something kind of hands-on with that. And then we want to put her in a music class this year. We want her to start an instrument.
We have not done any music, and we may want to do some, as we get closer and closer to that, we may interview some people talking about music and how to introduce music.
Right. Music, I like play around on the piano and the guitar, but I'm not very good.
But you're a singer. I mean, you were in the Sweet
I'm
Ad
really a
Lions and you
singer.
did
So
all
if
that
we
stuff.
could do a choir, that would be good too. And we might do two things. We might do like a choir and an instrument, because the choir comes a little bit more naturally to her. But we really want to get her some musical instruction.
Yeah,
because
the school has a choir, not it wouldn't be like a religious based choir.
Right. Yeah, the school has a choir. So there's some options, but those are the like categories we're looking to fill. If we don't do like choir and an instrument, we might add a PE in, because she's loved the PE class she's doing now, and it's just kind of nice to have that opportunity to run around.
That PE class is just balls and balls of fun. I mean, every time I go in there, the kids are just screaming and laughing and ear to ear.
They're running, doing obstacle courses and all kinds of stuff. So
really fun.
Our school has a lot of options, but those are kind of the basic categories. So if you think about
trying to plug where we may be, not that we would be deficient, but I wouldn't be maximizing what they could do. Like, oh, this is a person who's taught art and who has, a 500 square foot space devoted to art and all the art supplies you could ever imagine, sitting there and saying, well, I'm going to compete against that with a small basket of acrylics.
Well, yeah, and it's not that we can't draw together or paint together or something, although it's a little bit challenging with a preschooler, but not that we can't do those things, but those teachers are skilled in that, right? And she's getting to the point where even second grade, I'd love for her to take those classes from somebody who knows what they're doing, right? So whether she's going to sculpt or paint or do collage or whatever, I want her to, or draw, I want her to learn it from somebody who knows. And so that's
my skills only
go
so far, and I think most of my art skills end at second grade.
Yeah, and like handcraft skills, whether we're going to do sewing. I mean, I can kind of sew, but I think we're at the level where we are outsourcing to some experts. Now, science we could totally do. In science, we might drop science out and pick science up at home. We'll see. There is a science component to Build Your Library 1, and I think, I'm not going to remember exactly what it is off the top of my head. It's late, y'all. But anyway, there is a science component to Build Your Library 1, and we might just decide to do that and be done with it. I'm not primarily focusing on doing the science piece of it now. If we end up thinking that we want to do it, we will. But I'm really looking to Build Your Library to be our main literature, history. I'm really not looking to them for science, but maybe we'll use it. So that's what she's doing. And then
outside of that, we're going to do sports.
Yep, one sport at a time, because we're not crazy.
Yeah. So right now we're doing basketball and stellar coaching.
Yes.
Unbelievable. Some would say the best coaching.
The best coaching. She had her first game today, and Matt is her coach, and so he did a very nice job. Nobody got hurt, and the girls had a lot of fun.
I had multiple injuries.
No, they were not.
I handled them all.
They were not bad injuries.
There was no blood.
That's right.
We've already had multiple hits to the face in practices. We already lost one tooth, but that was. It was already wiggly. It was already wiggly. I can't take fault for that one, but we did not have blood today, which was good. That's right. There was no blood. You can't see Matthew, but if you watch our YouTube videos, I don't know if you can get a sense of it, but Matt's a big guy. He's 6'6", and he was consoling a, how tall is she? Oh God, maybe 4 feet. No. She's probably sub 4 foot. Just sobbing first grader today, and so he's getting all the way down there and really helping her, and it was very cute. All my empathy came out, and I've been empathy free for the rest of the day. Yeah. So anyway, we're doing one sport at a time with our older daughter, and then for her kind of social enrichment thing that's extra, we're doing Girl Scouts. We started Girl Scouts in the fall. It's been wonderful. We've really enjoyed it. She's gotten a big sense of independence. It's great too that the Scout troop is a troop centered around homeschoolers. Yeah, it's homeschoolers. So one of the things that we really wanted, our parent partnership, while great, is very large, and it's very large. There's a couple of kind of programs you can get into if you're in one of the performing arts programs or something. There's some of them you get into that have a whole string of classes. Some of the music classes are that way, and maybe she could get in there with kids and then stay with that same group as they go all the way up. But a lot of them, it's kind of like college. People are all over. They're taking all different classes. And so, the funny thing is, I told that to somebody this week. I said, this place feels more like college than it does a middle school or an elementary school. Because, there's over 200 classes. They're all different grades and things. But you take one class, you have 7 classes you go to, and you have a schedule, and you go periodically. Right, and there's breaks between it, and people are homeschooling. It's joyful chaos. It feels like college. Yeah. So
So because of that, I wanted this through line of homeschool friends that our daughter could grow up with.
Yeah, exactly.
These are friends that she could have kind of long term. And our homeschool troop is a multi-age troop. It goes all the way from daisies up to cadets, which are like preteens. So I really wanted that for her. And so far, it's been a really good experience. Now, talk to me after cookie season. I might say something different because that's coming up here for us in the next few weeks.
Lots of naughty words.
So we'll see. But yeah, so that's why we have her in that. Even though we have a lot of enrichment classes going on, the Scouts is something just different. And I think that it's something where, none of her classes, all her classes, they're instructor led. Mm-hmm. And what I like about Scouts is it's girl led. So it's, hey, we're going to do something, but you get to make the decisions.
Yeah.
You get to decide what we're going to eat on our camping trip. You're going to help prepare the meals. You're going to plan our hike. You're going to lead our hike. You're going to do, and I love that it's one of the only places that she's given that responsibility, and those choices to kind of, be resilient, be confident, and figure things out. So I really like
to be a big girl, get that independence. I like it.
Yeah. So I really like what we've done there. We went camping in last fall, and she spent like 10 or 15 minutes on the way home just listing all the things she had never done before, that she did that weekend, and we were only there for 2 days.
She's very proud of herself. I believe a lot of the personal growth, confidence in herself, what she can do, what she can't do, and all that type of stuff is, I think Scouts is going to be a blossoming thing for her.
Yeah, I've seen really good progress in her so far with that, and she's developing some great friendships. So we're going to continue with that unless it falls apart and it's no good anymore. But so far, been good.
Yep. And then during this year, for some span of time, we are going to take a break from everything, and we're going to do a very special kind of unit study thing. Homegrown for both girls. And we're going to do that leading up to a special event. And we will not spoil that. We will tell you about it when it's done.
Yeah, but sometime this year we're going to be taking a break from not everything. We basically will never take a break from reading and math, but we'll take a break from our main curriculum and our Build Your Library stuff. And we'll take a break and we'll do this special unit study. And we'll probably take a break from Blossom and Root as well, and do this. So yeah, we're excited about that, and we'll talk about that later.
Absolutely.
No spoilers on this episode.
No spoilers on that one, and you will all understand why when we do it. And then obviously through the summer, a lot of questions always come up, like, kind of what we do through summer. I think we already kind of alluded to that a little bit, but we're just kind of geared down. We do have a lot more time. We do try to
I don't think we gear it down. If anything, I think you end up doing more in the summer on our Build Your Library kind of main curriculum. I think you do more because you have more time. What's wonderful about the parent partnership is it's great, but it is 7 classes, and we are running around quite a bit to do those. And so while they're all good, and at this point I wouldn't drop out of a single one of them because she loves them all. The summer is a nice time to
I love it because I can
focus
and
really
go on hikes. It's very relaxing.
Dives.
It's very relaxing. Both girls kind of just relax through the summer. I really loved last summer. I found
no preschool.
We got to the park every day. We went for walks. We rode bikes. We got out to do hikes. We got to do a lot of play dates. I just love the summers. They're a ton of fun, and I can really structure my day around those fun events. And then obviously my oldest
and great play dates. We did a lot of play dates last summer.
A ton of play dates last summer, and they really needed that. And I needed that too, because getting all that vitamin D.
I mean, there's no enrichment activities, there's no sports, there's no Scouts, there's nothing during the summer. Although I don't know, she may go to Scouts camp this summer for a week or something. She'll
have a little bit of stuff, but I mean, having
in general, there
3.5 months off is just so amazing, and kind of getting that breather. I just didn't realize, I think, how much time we did spend at the parent partnership, and how much time, going to preschool and doing all these fun activities, and during the school year, it's very, it's enriching in and of itself, but there's just a lot going on. I mean, we got basketball practice, we got sports, we got activities, and it's like, at the beginning of this year, I thought my hair was going to just melt off, but now I'm into it. I'm, the one great thing about human beings, we're all adaptable, and we always adapt to the new norm. We're like a cup, and it's different shapes, but we can all hold water. And we found our new normal, and what's going to be funny is come June, it's going to be like, what do we do, Daddy? I'm like, I don't know.
Well, then you have to do, I remember last summer you being super
it,
excited at the beginning about, we have no responsibilities. But then it was like, Daddy, what are we doing? Daddy, what are we doing? Daddy, what are we doing? And you had to come up with all of it. And you couldn't say like,
I felt like
go play for a half hour because then we're going to go to basketball or whatever.
Yeah.
Like there wasn't anything else to relieve you of that. So there were a lot of play dates. The summers are beautiful here. So I think it's going to be good this summer. I think we're going to have a good time.
It'd be good to see a lot of family and visit. And Ariel, I promised you, we're going to go on some dates this summer. Movies. I'm going to take you to a dinner and a movie at least once.
Well, yes, someday. Yes, grandparents are back in the state this year. They weren't
They're
here.
Back in state.
They weren't here last year for a variety of reasons. And they're back. And they're back for good. So
I don't think we realized how important it is to have family around as kind of a relief valve for your own.
Well, right. We don't have
your own mental health.
Our kids are frankly not even fully awake. They're in bed cuddling with me when we hear the school bus go by on our street.
Oh, I know. A lot of times they're sleeping because Daddy's downstairs in the garage running on the treadmill, and I'm looking out and I see that school bus drive by. And
and the kids aren't awake yet.
They are not up.
And so we don't drop our kids at school and have that time all day where they're gone doing things, and we've got this kind of break. Even if you were home, usually we would have been working probably, but even if you were a stay-at-home parent, but for us as homeschoolers, we're with our kids all day long, and so it is nice. You have to kind of really prioritize those times off because it's great being together with our kids is wonderful. It's such a blessing, but it's nice to have some time and. Mommy wants to see Avatar, so we've got to figure that out.
We will see it sooner or later. Hey,
next weekend
we're going to
see Avatar.
So anyway, that is what we're doing for this year. It's a nice little summary. We're able to talk about both kids now. It's really exciting. So if you're out there
fun.
And you're sitting there going, how do I homeschool? And I got a 2-year-old and everything. Hey, we've been there. Totally understand where you're at. It will get better. Just keep pushing, strategically schedule things. Like, for example, we strategically scheduled preschools to, give us time to, educate the older one and that type of thing. This year, I prioritized my own personal time. And so we like stacked everything on top of it because, our youngest can now do homeschool with my oldest and she's not, distracting her. So as things change and evolve, your decisions will change and evolve. And it's really good to, look at the year in totality and plan and talk to your significant other about what you guys want to do and what are the accomplishments and what are things going right and what are things going wrong and how can you structure everything to be as enriching as possible and enjoyable as possible because this is a lot of work. And,
it's a ton of work.
And the funny thing is, it's such a big piece of our lives, right? Our children's education, we're not outsourcing that, and so we're doing that in shop. And because we're doing it here, it becomes a huge piece of our life. It's what we talk about a lot of times. It's like, hey, how was homeschool at the end of the day? Or here, go show mommy your math test, or go show mommy that artwork you did today, and tell mommy about preschool today, or tell mommy about your cooking class today. It's like, what was the new food you tried, and those type of things. Just become everything we talk about. And, for us, it's very important to make sure that those are good and positive and enjoyable experiences. And to do that, I think we need to set it up so that it works. Like how your schedule works or how you want to do your schedule does not have to be the forever schedule. Like you may want to make a change. You may want to do this or that.
And we are going to be checking in all year. I mean, obviously this is our plan for the year, and our plan last year, we
pretty much did it.
I mean, we were very close. I mean, we got done what we wanted to accomplish.
The kids don't metamorphose, like a caterpillar into a butterfly. And like very rare. I have not had that experience where our original plan, and then by the end of the year, our kid is a completely different kid. And,
it's very similar. And we do check in. We're checking in all the time, and we're asking ourselves, especially as we're starting to approach the end of a curriculum, this is our plan for the next one. Does that still make sense? And we're going to be checking in all year. At some point, if it doesn't, I mean, we'll tell you if we make a change. But this is our best laid plan, and depending on many factors, we could decide to make a change. But right now, this is the way that we want to go. Then I think we'll match best with our kids where they're at and their learning styles.
Because really where I think where things are moving the most with respect to like what we will do or how we will do it are not things this year. Like the stuff that we're doing now, we did not talk about yesterday. We've been talking about it the back end of last year.
Right. I mean,
and
to be fair, we've been planning. We know what we're doing for the next few years.
Right.
I mean, I probably have the next 5 years roughly planned.
Yeah.
What speed we go at different things, what speed we move on with All About Reading or with Build Your Library or with Right Start.
But like what we're doing specifically in the 2024,
we know kind of what we're going to do.
The 2024 year, we have kind of a ballpark, but that's something that could be moving and shifting a little bit. But this year we pretty much have it locked down, like what we want to accomplish, what we will do.
Right.
Obviously we can add a little thing here, add a little thing there, or take away something here, take away something there. That's without a doubt. But like the main big pieces, I think are all set.
Yeah. And kind of overall, just in a very holistic view, our younger daughter and our older are on two totally separate tracks right now. Yeah. And when our younger, we're going to be starting to merge them as our younger daughter gets older. We're going to start merging those tracks together where our main history and lit curriculum is concerned.
Yes.
With that, because that's the bulk of the books and stuff. Obviously, they'll never be merged for something like reading or math, but some other things, science, depending on the type of science.
We may get a kid who just runs through reading and all of a sudden we're on the same curriculum.
Yes, it could certainly be. But barring anything weird
wild thing like that.
We're trying to move them towards the lit-based curriculum is a big part of our day. There's a lot of books to read and activities to do, and we really don't want to have two kids on two different levels of Build Your Library. So we are going to be trying to move towards a merger at some point. But yeah, that's kind of what's coming for us.
And that's on the horizon next 2 to 3 years. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So hopefully that was helpful. You know, when you're thinking about what you're doing for this year, maybe you do your planning in the summer for the calendar year, whatever it might be. Hopefully this gives you some ideas on what we're doing, how we think through things. Mm-hmm. You know, how Ariel and I are talking right now is a lot of, you know, right before we hit play and started recording this, we were putting some notes down on a piece of paper, just like, oh, you know, we will make sure we're not getting off, our topic and everything. But a lot of it is, this is how we talk about things, and this is how we communicate and plan and think about these type of important events, especially with our kids, and especially now it's not just one kid. Now we got 2 kids, and I think it's just scaling up the amount of work. But I think, you know, with life in general, especially how you move through with these early learners, you know, first they're glowworms, and then they start rolling around, and then they start walking. So it's doled out slowly, and as we're scaling up, it's a slow scale up. And I think every time there's this new like level or new step that we have to get up to, it's not a dramatic thing where we're like, you know, it's too much that we can't handle. So every time we add a little bit more or have to do a little bit more, it seems very manageable. And so I think having these type of conversations are important in order to keep our focus and ensure our success.
Yeah, I totally agree.
So let's end it the way we've been ending it lately, is book of the week.
Yes.
Ariel, tell us about book 4.
Yeah. So the book of the week I guess we have kind of 2 books of the week. So the book of the week that I'm reading with our daughter is the Harry Potter 4, The Goblet of Fire. Yeah, so we're about halfway through that.
Which one? The illustrated edition.
The illustrated edition. I highly recommend the illustrated edition. If you haven't read it to your kid before it's their first time through Harry Potter, I think the illustrated edition is it's where it's at, y'all. We'll put a link in the show notes because it's beautiful, and if you don't own it, you should. It's great.
Yeah, you're starting to run into the issue where the movies and the content of the books are starting to run out ahead of what a 7-year-old would.
Yeah.
Would
so we're
especially when Harry turns to the dark side and becomes Voldemort's assistant. Isn't that what happens? I keep telling very big, massive lies about the end of the Harry Potter
just to mess with her,
and she just looks at me and goes, "That's a lie." But then she's like, I don't know though.
So yeah, we did wait until she was
just wait until Dobby.
She had read all 3. We'd read all 3 books, and I made her wait until she turned 7 to start Goblet.
Azkaban was a little bit more of a serious movie. Like even just like the way they color graded it, it's a lot darker. It's a lot more. I mean, you get the first of the Dementors, right? In that one.
Yeah,
and you talk a lot more about death in that movie, and a lot more about like, prison and kind of that nuance of life and death. And I think there's more about his parents in this one because it's talking about his uncle and everything.
Yeah.
And then obviously in this one that's coming up, it's like, okay, it's Death City, right?
Right. And so we're going to see how she handles all of that. And I'm not sure when we will move on to 5, but I feel like it's going to be a while.
He killed Batman.
So anyways, we're doing that. And then our daughter is reading Artemis Fowl via audiobook. And she's like
on book 3 now.
Yeah, 3 books in. She's having a really wonderful time with that. I just want to mention it because audiobooks are such a huge part of her life.
It's become a huge part of my own life as well.
Yeah, she does audiobooks every day. We got her some, her grandfather got her some wireless headphones for Christmas.
Get yourself some wireless
loves
headphones.
Them. We'll link the ones she has in the show notes.
They're like $20. They're great.
They're great. And it allows her to either do Lego or work on her sewing projects or color or whatever and not have any cords or anything. It also allows the tablet to stay plugged in and charging all the time and safe. So we like that as well about it. So she's going through those and really enjoying them. But that's the books that we're reading right now and that we are enjoying for enrichment and pleasure. Thanks so much for joining us today and making us a part of your homeschool journey. Please engage with us on social media. Join our Homeschool Together podcast group on Facebook and find us at Homeschool Together Podcast on Instagram. We'd love to hear your feedback, questions, and recommendations. Until next time,
Happy homeschooling!